I am. Thank you, Trish, for holding things while we were bumbling about trying to see if we could find anything. Unfortunately for us, the tracks for Hosana just disappear. They come into the drainage and I can't find where he's gone from there. I was trying to rush cover as much ground as possible just to see if I could get onto his trail, but the last track I had is heading straight towards the drainage line. Oh, there he is, right in front of us. Hello, boy. Yes, I'm not surprised you're looking at me like that, because I've walked all around you and almost driven into you. Hello, Hosana. Good morning. How are you, boy? I was wondering why the Franklins came bombing from the side. I said it earlier that we look towards the dam cam. This is a little spillway towards the dam cam. So, there we go. Finally, I was just saying I couldn't find where his track went and it was coming in this direction, but there we go. He's sitting, looking very serious this morning. Why are you looking so serious, Hosana? What's wrong? Have you been cold this morning, boy? There we go. Well, at least we managed to find him, which is good news. And he's in one of his favorite spots. He likes these two termite mounds either side of us that he likes to sit on. I don't even know if they actually are termite mounds or more banks than anything else. And he often likes to sit on those. And you can see there's a little bit of sunshine that's about to start hitting him. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be a very happy cat when that sun moves kind of on towards his face. Now, a lot of you, I believe, are very excited. I'm also equally excited about the fact that I managed to find Hosana. Well, I suppose he found us more than I found him. It's kind of, like I say, followed the track. But I'm interested in his movement. He did a massive loop around and then came back pretty much to where he was supposed to be. And I could smell heavy scent marking and that urine smell when we were driving. And I was thinking to myself, this can't be residue from when he was on his kill. That would have faded long ago. That maybe he'd, marked and then kind of come back. But he's definitely watching something. Maybe it's because I was walking around that he's quite alert. He seems to be kind of staring towards us at the moment. Adele, normally not very long. Normally you find the smell of their urine typically disappears quite quickly. It's normally, I would say, in a few days at most. You can sometimes smell it the next morning, and by that afternoon I generally find that it's completely down. What's wrong? Now Craig is
towards the dam,
hearing the alarm calls. Does sound like it, doesn't it, Craig? Sounds like a kudu or a nyala that Craig heard. So I thought I also heard something now, and maybe it's why Hosana turned that direction, because that's where Craig thought he heard it, just towards the dam cam. So it's possible. There's so much movement of leopard around this area last night that it's very possible that there's still another one hanging around. There was tracks also for a female in the drainage here, which I suspect is Tlalamba from her various wanderings towards the dam for a drink. Are you tired, boy? Why don't you lie back down and sleep? I think maybe he kind of saw me walking around, and maybe that's why he's quite alert and quite sort of upright. I'm pretty sure the way that his eyes are closing now is that he's about to fall asleep standing up, and that's not going to be a good idea. So I wouldn't be surprised as he lies back down again and just rests on top there. I don't think he really wants to be too active at this stage. It's still very cold, so I would just kind of expected him to be curled up in a little ball, trying to stay as warm as possible. And with a bit of sunshine coming, I think he's going to be very happy to sit there in his little ball in his sunshine and just wait until maybe there's an unsuspecting victim. But it's always funny to watch a cat when they are sleepy. You can see how he's almost falling asleep sitting up. His eyes are struggling to stay open, and he's kind of closing them every now and then. And you can actually see when he starts to close them how he starts to sway a little bit. His shoulders start to move. You see, when he closes his eyes, he starts to get this little kind of movement, and then he falls asleep. But doesn't he look magnificent up there? He really has taken on a much bulkier figure, and you can actually even see that dewlap that is starting from this position. You see how his folds of skin on his neck are starting to fall a little bit. Before he used to have a very kind of tight area around his shoulders, and now that dewlap is just starting, which is very, very cool. So he's growing by the day, our young chief, and he looks spectacular, doesn't he? Oh boy, if you're tired, lie back down. I don't think he really knows what he wants to do at this stage. It's so special to have him around. I was very sad when I heard that he had kind of been seen far afield, and it's a weird thing because where he was seen, I was saying yesterday that I was actually there the day before. So the morning he was seen, and I drove there during the day. We were doing camera trap sort of stuff, and it's thought to myself, no, he can't be here. And then I said to Ali, I'm going to throw him in the bucky if he's, which is basically the pickup truck in the back of the pickup, if we see him, so that I can take him back to Juma. And then yesterday he arrived back, so I didn't even have to go back there to go fetch him, which is wonderful news. And hopefully he'll kind of stick around a little bit longer. The reality of the situation is these wanderings that he's taking could get bigger and bigger and further, and he might not come back. But there's also every chance, as we've said over the last few weeks, is that he could even stick around. And I would hope that he could. Although the way Tingana was last night, it seems like Tingana had enough of all these males that have been wandering in his territory. It was the Tingana of old that I saw last night, who was scent marking everywhere, vocalizing all the time, and was really looking a serious figure, except for the one time he found himself some elephant dung and was kneading it like a little kitten on a ball of wool, and then rolled around like a little baby and was on his back and being very playful with this ball of dung. But then once that was done, he was back to serious business and striding around and vocalizing and scent marking and being the sort of Tingana of old. He sort of wound back the clock last night. I was just looking at him at one point, and we had this kind of side-on shot of him. And he was staring off into the night, and it was his perfect sort of side profile of Tingana, and he looked sort of magnificent. It looked like he did, like I say, maybe 2-3 years ago when he was in his prime. He was looking really, really good last night, which can only bode well in some respect for Hosana, because it might be that Tingana is starting to front up a little bit to this skittish male and starting to establish some boundaries. I mean, hopefully then, we'll clear that threat, and if Hosana can somehow charm his dad, which he's done a very good job of so far in life, then you never know, maybe, just maybe, he might be able to eventually take over. It would be so wonderful if he was our dominant male leopard. There's just so much about him, from his story to his character to the ability, of his hunting, to all kinds of things that really kind of endear Hosana to all of us, and so it would be so nice if we could follow him for many, many years to come and see how he develops into a big dominant male. The one good thing, though, is that so far his dispersal, his movement sort of down towards Londolosia, and I say dispersal, but that's where he's kind of been pushing. At least that is within the Sabi Sand area, and therefore fairly regular updates come about him if he does move in those directions. At least he hasn't been pushing east like the rest of Krula's boys, which has become very difficult to get updates on them. Now, I believe a lot of you are asking, is he scent marking now? So no, not necessarily. The smell that we're getting here, this popcorn smell, is just him urinating. It doesn't necessarily have to be a scent mark. He's got to go to the toilet at some time. I didn't see him do anything, but the smell was lingering around here, and like I say, it could just be him going to the toilet, but I wouldn't be surprised if every now and then he scent marks a bush here or a bush there, and just slowly but surely trying to worm his way back in and make sure that, Dad isn't getting too cross with him too quickly. I think if he came in here and he was just scent marking and doing whatever he wanted to with the skittish male being around, I reckon it might have been a very different welcome back by Tingana. I think the fact that he's laying low a little bit and not vocalizing, he's not scent marking, he's not doing those kind of things, is maybe just him trying to kind of stay under the radar at this stage. But doesn't he look beautiful with a little bit of sunshine now across his face? Hosana cat? Just glad that it's not his tracks that went towards Mobili, which begs the question as to which two male leopards walked that way last night, because it seems like two different tracks. And I wonder if Tingana wasn't maybe following Hukumuri or maybe another male and making sure that he's protecting that western boundary. What has been interesting over the course of the last, I'd say, 10 days is how far west Tingana has been going. He's been pushing back to his kind of normal western boundaries, which is really, really good to see, and that he's actually really starting to kind of behave like a dominant male leopard that he once was. Well, do I think, big stretch. Do I think he's going to have a bigger dewlap than Tingana? It's a question we get asked quite regularly, and the answer to that is that I honestly don't know. It is very difficult to make those conclusions. I think he will have a big-ish dewlap. I mean, you can see it's already forming now. In fact, I saw photos of Tumba the other day, and his dewlap is already bigger than Tumba's. I know he is older, but he does have a bit more of that fold of skin that's underneath his chin. So I think he's going to have a nice dewlap. I think it's going to be a big one. Whether it's bigger than Tingana's, I don't know. That's always difficult to say. Whether he is going to be as big as Tingana is difficult to say. I will say this, though, is that he is already a stocky cat and a beautiful one at that. And so regardless of whether he's bigger or smaller than Tingana, it's still really cool to have him around. There's something around. Is there nothing on the dam cam? Because the Egyptian geese are going crazy. It might be because there's another Egyptian geese pair that is arriving, but there's been birds going mad that side. Hosana keeps looking that way. I'm not sure if there isn't something else around. It could just be a little territorial dispute between the Egyptian geese, but Craig said he also heard an alarm call come from that side, so you never know. Maybe there's another disturbance somewhere. It could be another cat. It could be, well, anything really at this stage, but hopefully you guys on the dam cam will be able to find it if there is something. The Egyptian geese seem fairly quiet now, so maybe it was just a territorial dispute between them. You can also hear some giant eagle owls or rose eagle owls way in the distance. Sounds like coming from the Gari cut line. We actually were closer earlier and could hear them super clearly. It's such a cool, haunting kind of sound that they make. I love the call of a rose eagle owl. Karen says nothing at the pan. Thank you, Karen. I don't know. It just seems like he's aware of something, and there's been a lot of alarm calls and things. I don't know. Maybe it's just he's been around, and that's why things are a bit jittery this morning. I'm not sure. It's interesting, but he certainly is aware. It's not like it's just us. I mean, he's kind of moved into this area, and he's sitting and he's looked at us every now and then. Unless he wants to come this way. Do you want to come this way, Hosana? I'll move out your way if you do. I'm still undecided. It's kind of looking directly at the area where he had his kill. I don't know if, a lot of you will remember where the evokers stole it. We didn't get the evokers live stealing it, but it's looking in that direction under that bush. I wonder if he's just checking around, seeing maybe there's any scraps or something. But that was so many days ago, I would be surprised if he was looking for anything with regards to that. But maybe the scent of the lions is still around for him, or there's something that's making him a little bit wary of what he's doing. Craig, how did we not see him this morning on the way? I shone my spotlight on this very mound. See, I must have been moving still this morning. I always check here because it's a spot that he likes to sit. Like I say, there's two bumps and then a sort of row or the spillway for the dam, the overflow. And so it's always good to check both of these. I've seen him, Tingana, Tandi, Tlalamba, pretty much all of them. Oh, look, he's got a big yawn. Here he comes. Are you going to come down, my boy? Big stretch. Oh, how wonderful is that? Look at that pose. What have you seen, boy? Seen something, but I have absolutely no idea what it is. Craig, is there something to our left here? The way he's walking is almost like there's something right here that he's stalking. See how carefully he's putting his paws? Oh. Maybe he just doesn't want to make too much noise, but there's a big Hosana stretch. Where are you going, boy? Look at this. Isn't this amazing? He's so close that if I were to put my hand out, we would be able to touch him on the head. That's how close he is to the side of the car. Hello, Hosana. What are you looking for, boy? That's ridiculous. That's amazing. His tail is disappearing under the car and we really can't move. Now he's going to sit here. Hosana, you can't sit here, boy. So if he lifts his tail right now, he's going to hit me in the leg. That's how close he's sitting to the car. In fact, his shoulder is touching the tire. at the moment, so we're not going to be able to see him at all, and I can't start the car with him this close. Also, I can't really move around very much, so we're going to just have to be patient and wait a little bit. What are you watching, boy? It's quite something to think that you're sitting here, and within arm's reach is one of Africa's biggest cats, and he is super chilled. Right, well, we're going to send you off to Trishala because I don't think you want to see my face, and also I want to keep an eye on him just in case he moves. And so while we do that, let's send you across to her and see what Trishala's got for the morning.